because we need you now more than ever. You know, all that we have to do is look around New Jersey. We don't have to even look to Wisconsin. We don't have to look to Washington to know that, you know, progressive middle-class values are under assault. Private sector interests trumping the needs of hardworking Americans, and there's just too much at stake to allow our fate to be in the hands of those who are indifferent to the plight of hardworking, middle-class New Jerseyans. And I believe, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out, that the Democratic Party is at a watershed moment. And this is a time when we need to do a little soul searching and look down deep inside of ourselves, and I'm not saying you, but I'm saying a lot of other folks, and question, why did we become Democrats in the first place? And where is this party going? You know, I thought we were the party that stood up for the, you know, men and women who built this country. I thought that we were the party that was in support of opportunity for all under a fair and just system. You know, the party of FDR and JFK, some of the big dreamers who weren't afraid to shoot for the moon but never ever lost sight of people who could barely struggle to see the sun. You know, there is a radical agenda at play right there, out there on the national stage and seeping down into New Jersey, and it is fueled by ideology and paid for by hedge fund billionaires. And no one is playing that, no one is adhering to that playbook to a T, like Governor Chris Christie and some of the members of the legislature. Unfortunately, a majority in the state Senate. You know, Christie has said he's not running for president. He's decided to take his hat out of the ring. Okay, whatever. Now, he's being coy about vice president, right? So I guess it's safe to assume that Chris Christie's decisions, any of his decisions regarding New Jersey, are going to continue to be driven not by what's best for New Jersey, but with the goal of continuing to pander to the conservative, anti-government movement at the national level, the Tea Partiers, if you will. And he's got his legislators that are marching in lockstep with him. And I think it's very sad. I mean, what kind of a state are we living in when, you know, it's okay now. When did it become okay to bash teachers and public workers and police and firefighters? I don't know about you, but when I grew up, these were my heroes, and they still are. I looked up to them. You know, what kind of a state are we where hardworking folks that are just trying to get a living wage and have fair representation at the bargaining table are portrayed as greedy and a drain on the system, where a single mom who's just trying to get access to basic health care is told, now you got to take a back seat so that millionaires can get a tax break. You know, what kind of a state are we in? Do we want to live in a state where the earned income tax credit is cut? This is a lifeline for folks. President Reagan touted it, and yet we slashed that. Funding for women's health, eliminated. Medicaid eligibility, so severely reduced, so severely restricted, that you have to be so impoverished, so destitute, that no one should be condemned to live in those conditions. And that was one of the elements that the governor actually did back down on. The Medicaid waiver that he's sent to the Obama administration. And under pressure from the legislature and folks like all of you, he took that one small element out of the Medicaid waiver, which said, oh, now you can only earn under $6,000 annually, in order to qualify. So he was very, very big of him. He backed off of that. I mean, do we want to live in a state where women who stand their ground and speak their mind are denigrated by name calling? You know, a state where, you know, our judiciary, you know, we pride ourselves in New Jersey of having an independent judiciary. We don't elect our judges simply because we don't want them to be influenced by the likes of people like me. Well, this governor has imperiled the impartiality of our judiciary. Collective bargaining has been on hold. RGGI, you know what RGGI is, a regional greenhouse gas initiative. It's a multi-state consortium where states have come together to not only reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also to create and fund jobs, green jobs. That's where the decided to take us, he called himself the environment. He was going to be the environmental governor when he was running. Well, he pulled us out of that multi-state consortium. Terrible. There's a new waiver rule that the Department of Environmental Protection has published. You know what that waiver rule would do? And by the way, I have a petition on moveon.org. You ought to sign on to it. I don't know how many we have on there, Christina. Over about 12,000 people, all New Jerseyans, to sign on to pressure. I have a resolution in which would pressure them to withdraw that waiver. What happens if that waiver goes into effect? Essentially, it will gut decades of environmental regulations that we put in place to protect the public's health, to protect families, to protect workers, to protect children. And what this waiver would do if it goes into effect is incredible. This governor loves circumventing the legislature. He does things by regulation, but he can't do this because you gotta have the authority from the statute. And he's trying to skip that step. Either he does that or executive orders. Another governor, he loves executive orders. You know what they did in Wisconsin statutorily? This governor tries to do by executive order. But if this waiver goes into effect, the DEP commissioner, an unelected bureaucrat, a political appointee, will be vested with the sole authority to waive regulations. So then when some big contributor to Reform New Jersey has an application before the DEP and they need a permit, he can say, oh no, it's okay. It doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you. I think that there's some severe constitutional questions about that, and as well as ethical issues. So where do we go from here? Are we going to allow this far-right anti-government Tea Party rhetoric to hijack public policy in New Jersey more than it already has with respect to collective bargaining and environmental protection? Not a chance. Not with your help. There is another way. And it's a way that won't shortchange those with the least and fill the pockets of those with the most. You know, Chris Christie likes to say how he was going to turn Trenton upside down. Well, if he did, it was just to shake the loose change out of the pockets of the middle class. And we need to unite as a party around core principles, core values.